So I want to talk with you just a moment about growing in Christ and keeping your passion for the things of God and the gospel. So Paul, the apostle, writes in Philippians 3 that I may know him, this is Jesus, and the power of his resurrection, and may share his sufferings, becoming like him in his death, that by any means possible I may attain the resurrection from the dead. It's a very well-known passage. It's autobiographical for Paul. He's sharing his passion. The one thing that he wants more than anything is to know Christ, to know the power of his resurrection. And what's deeply ironic about him saying this here is when he says it. So if we locate Philippians in the books that Paul writes, he writes this after he writes 1 Corinthians. And if you know 1 Corinthians chapter 15 is all about the resurrection. Arguably the longest, deepest, clearest teaching on the resurrection in the entire Bible. So we could say, Paul, you already have a PhD in the resurrection. You're kind of a world expert on the resurrection. And then you're going to write that you actually want to know Christ and his resurrection. Like, don't you already know Christ and his resurrection? Haven't you already seen the risen Christ? And the answer to all of that would be yes. And yet, he says, I want to know him, in that sense, more. I want to know the resurrection more. It reminds me of an experience I had one time with a friend of mine. So I have this friend that his entire career at the Indiana University Medical School taught medical school students the kidney. That's all he taught, just the kidney. He has a PhD from Cornell, Ivy League school, on the kidney. He is a world expert on the kidney. And so I'm out to breakfast with him one time, and he gets the napkin, he starts drawing on the napkin, the kidney. And this layer does this, and this purifies that, and this enzyme matches with that enzyme, and takes the good out and the bad stays, and all the rest. I don't really remember everything he said because this guy's incredible. But what I do remember is that he gets done filling this napkin with all these drawings and words and diagrams, and he just kind of pushes the napkin towards me, and he says, "But honestly, we haven't even begun to understand how the kidney works." And I thought to myself, wait a second, you're a world expert on the kidney, and yet you're going to say that we haven't really begun to figure out how the kidney works. And that's the sense of it with Paul. I mean, if this guy could say that about the kidney, is it so surprising that Paul would say this about Christ? That despite the fact that he's seen him with his own eyes risen, despite all of the revelation, the experiences with the apostles, all the things that he had done in his missionary journeys, even Paul had a sense that he hadn't really begun to understand the glory of Christ, the power of the resurrection, the mysteries of the depths of all of this, but he wanted it more. And I think for pastors and even God's people in the church, that there ought to be that sense of mystery. And when we get complacent, or we think, I kind of got this thing figured out, I've sort of heard it all before. Maybe you're a pastor, it's your 20th Easter, you've preached the resurrection. How many times? You can't find another passage that you haven't already used. What am I going to do? I've sort of plumbed the depths of this. Take a look at Paul in Philippians 3 and ask God to give you a sense of the wonder again. Never lose the wonder, and never lose the sense that there is so much more that perhaps someday in heaven we will in greater ways understand, but we will never fully grasp the glory, the mystery, and the wonder of who Jesus is, the power of his resurrection, and his grace in our lives.